Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. This is what we take to be a skull that we found in Nevada, which we were trying to relocate, and we weren't able to relocate in our last trip out there. We hope it is still out there. And it was fascinating because these really look like two eye sockets. It felt like it was a being. And if you are familiar with some snakes, for instance, pythons, they have these nose holes. And here you have 3 nose holes right here, nasal structures. At least that's what I feel like. And I just wanted to bring this up because I was looking at this post from Bronze Giant over on Twitter, talking about this is in the Amazon. You see there's what looks to be a giant skull in the middle of a forest in a state park, and it does look to be a skull. And they even give the coordinates, which are available, and we did plug it into Google Earth, and lo and behold, there is something there. As you see, this is that area. It's again, the Amazon's fascinating because right now they're discovering with LiDAR that there are many, many cities buried under all the vegetation. That again, how many people lived in this area in the past? A lot. I think the answer is a real lot. And so we get into the giant aspects of things. Now, you could look at this and say, well, that doesn't look so much like a skull. It is curious, though, what nature would give you these two, pretty round, whatever they are. I was measuring this too, and let's just use the measuring tool together here. Boom, you go for the first point, and you drag it down, and basically somewhere around 68 feet, and as far as the length. And, I was looking at this about 30 feet across. Could it be some sort of giant skull? And, in this article, they reference that it's a titan. It's fascinating to see these things. Could be natural. Well, a skull would be natural, wouldn't it? The mystery of the giant skull on Google Maps is a natural phenomenon or an illusion. They say there's a phenomenon called pareidolia, and it just says that our brain naturally wants to find things we can relate to in nature. So we're always looking to say, oh well, that could be a skull because I have a skull. I don't know if I buy that so much. I think that's again one of the ways that the system writes off these things. Whether it is a skull or isn't a skull, it's certainly curious.
It is curious, and if you were to break it down and you take the measurements, it would be a being that would be about 1,000 feet tall. Now, we know that wouldn't really be possible in this world that we have today. Could you imagine like one deep breath would like take everybody's oxygen, and not to mention like what kind of bone structure would this thing have to support itself? It would be taller than like a 90-story skyscraper, or as big as a mid-sized mountain. The skull, the proportions, the skull would be like a large apartment building, and the footsteps would leave like craters the size of ponds. So, these are all things that we have to take into consideration. But, if you think about it more, like, just the eyeball itself would have to be like the size of a basketball. The femur diameter would come out to be 29.9 feet. But if you take that, well, it could be a different etheric realm, but in this type of gravity, the femurs would have to be much bigger to support the weight like that. But
13 feet for the eye socket.
Oh, wow, 13 feet for the eye socket. Yeah, so that's just the eye socket. So I imagine, those yoga balls, the eyeball would have to be like the size of a yoga ball. Ew, gross. But I do believe in our history that we did come from a much, much larger planet from Tiamat. And I don't think it's completely out of this world to say there could be giant parts on this planet. Some believe this planet is made up of giants. And I think there's a lot of giant parts. I mean, if you look at something like crystals.
This is what the myths say.
Yeah, they say this is made up of, giant parts. But if you look at, like, I'm holding this rose quartz in my hand. I mean, if you were like a body person, you would say, well, this looks a little fleshy. I mean, just looking at it, it could look like a heart, fleshy piece of a fleshy heart, So you can let the mind wander and you can pull these things together, but we're not going to see anything in the scientific world that we have right now because they box us out of our imagination.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so much buried in our history, buried, that they always try to seem to do the best to dissuade us that our myths and legends, again, don't really have a basis in reality. Yet, yeah, if you look to the Sumerian legends and stuff, Tiamat, the battle between Tiamat and Marduk, we talked about that like a week ago. And then, again, creating the earth out of the body of a titan, so to speak. This is part of that as above, so below. And, again, you are a universe unto yourself. You have billions, if not trillions, of forms of individuated life, consciousness inside you. We talk about the importance of the microbiome and having the proper support inside you. And, again, are we living in harmony with nature, or are we acting as a marauding virus? Again, history is just written by the victors. And when we look to the earth, it's full of mysteries, and our past is just loaded with inconvenient realities that just destroy the narrative that we've been given. As always, guys, we encourage you, check out more about us, evolutionaryenergyarts.com. Check out testimonials. If you need to make an appointment for everything from Vedic astrology charts to biofield tuning, energy work, or just life coaching, you can reach out to us through the website, or evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com. Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.